Flirties. Today we're going behind the scenes of the hit show Love is Blind with one of the daters from season 1 of Love is Blind UK, Tom Stroud. Tom is on the show today, like he's here. I mean, not physically, but virtually, in a sense. He's going to be coming through your speakers, through your earbuds, however you're listening to this, as we get into what it was like dating in the pods, how life has changed after, what avenues, opportunities have opened up for Tom. We're going to be hearing about his podcast, about how his dating life has changed, about his men's group. Yes, so many good things coming. But up first, thank you. Thank you for being here and listening to the show. I really appreciate you tuning in each week to each episode, or even if you miss a few. I put out a lot. It's okay. You dabble, you're in and out. However often you listen, thank you. Yes, please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. It helps me immensely to grow the show and continue to reach out and get amazing guests like Tom, who we're going to meet right now, Flirties. Let's do it. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're crossing the pond and getting into it with none other than Tom Stroud. You may know Tom from season 1 of Love is Blind UK and his podcast, Why Do Men? And today we're going beyond the screen as we talk about what it was really like dating through a wall and how vulnerability, oddly enough, came more easily without eye contact or seeing who you're talking to. Tom also shares what it was like forming friendships in the men's suite, how those behind-the-scenes bonds shaped the experience and what it taught him about connection, not just romantically in the pods, but also how to make friends with other guys. Tom opens up about his past dating patterns, how he's unlearning love bombing and forming more secure attachments rather than avoidant ones, and why checking the boxes was actually limiting him in his love life, and also shares the inspiration behind his podcast, Why Do Men? And his men's group, Shoulder to Shoulder. We've also got some flirting tips, of course, for the fellas and the ladies out there dating in real life and how you can make a move with more confidence. So, if you're curious to go behind the scenes of Love is Blind and learn more about connection and vulnerability in relationships, this one is for you. Let's do this, Flirties, and meet Tom.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today is a British man. You may know him from season 1 of Love is Blind UK and is the host of the new podcast, Why Do Men? He's also the founder of a men's group, Shoulder to Shoulder, here to have a conversation with us today about dating and so much more. Tom Stroud, hello and welcome to Flirtations.
Hey, Benjamin, how's it going? It's good to see you.
Doing well. Thank you for making the time to come on Flirtations today. I'm really excited to talk with you and get to know you a little bit more.
Likewise, I love doing US podcasts. You guys are so much more unfiltered than the Brits are.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, you really dive in. We're a bit more reserved.
Oh, that's okay. Good to know, because I feel like one thing we're a little bit envious of here in the US sometimes is British humor.
I'll try and give you a bit of that. I'm not on my best form today, Benjamin. I've just finished a massive day at work, but I'll give you a bit of banter.
I think you're already doing it, Tom.
Yes. Pleased to hear that.
So how I feel like I got to know you from Love is Blind UK season 1, the first series there. So whenever I'm visiting family, hanging out with my mom, with my sister, with my brother-in-law, we always find a show to watch. It might be a game show. It might be a reality TV series of some kind. On a recent visit together, we had a few days together. We picked Love is Blind UK. That was our series that we binge watched over a few days. And as we get to know you here a little bit at the top of the interview, I want to hear more about that experience and maybe what was your inspiration to apply?
Yeah, great one. Great question. So, I mean, it kind of ties into a lot what I want to talk about today, really, particularly for the guys listening. I was in this kind of dating pattern, right, for about 6 years after I had a big breakup with my long-term partner. I was about 32 at the time. And I'd essentially fallen into this pattern, right, of avoidance, I call it, which we can delve into a little bit more in a minute, but where I'd have these 2 or 3 month situationships, and this would go on for years and years and years. And then I'd end up convincing myself that there was something that I didn't like about them and break it off. And this was going on for years, honestly. And I was always like, I'm not meeting the right person. You know, in time, I'll find this like golden princess that's just the right person for me. And, you know, after a while, I just started to think, actually, I think the problem sits with me, right? Like I'm the problem. I'm not the golden prince. And so I started doing a load of therapy and a load of self-reflection and got myself into a much better place, and was I took a break from dating for quite a while to sort my head out, really. And then as if by magic, you know, just started dipping my toe back in. And I got a call from one of the casting producers who'd seen my like dusty Instagram with 3 followers on it and was like, you look sad and lonely. You're perfect.
Come on the show, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it just came at a really good moment for me where I was like, right, maybe I need to think a little bit differently about dating. And yeah, that's kind of what led me to it, really.
All right. Yeah. So I have a few more questions here. One, like, I'm just really curious to know what it was like dating in a relatively, like, not necessarily in the public eye, knowing that eventually that series was going to be on television, but things happen so quickly. Right? Like you're talking with someone for, it seems like a few days, or at least for us watching, it's a few episodes. And then, okay, are we getting engaged or not? What was it like dating with such a compressed time frame?
So it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks that you're doing that initial pod bit for.
Okay.
But honestly, I mean, like, I suppose in relation to the format, like you are in that bubble, right? So you have no phone, you have no internet. It's just you and the people that you're dating, and occasionally you get to hang out with the boys as well. So in an environment like that, which is very intense, like it's 2 weeks, but in real life, that could be the equivalent of, I don't know, 2 or 3 months of dating if you're dating someone once a week, right? So it's very compressed, but like what I'll say on that is that the feelings are real, albeit in a synthetic environment. So you're kind of a bit confused. You're going back to the hotel at the end of the night thinking, I have nothing else to think about these people that I'm dating. So, yeah, you know, I suppose your brain can take you in a slightly different direction to when you have all of life's other stresses in there. So it feels real at the time. And when you reflect back on it, you're like, that was pretty crazy. And maybe a lot of that was maybe my brain playing tricks on me a little bit. But the other thing I'll say about the experience is the format of it, the idea of delving deep into someone's trauma, behavior, environment, all that kind of stuff, because you're like, I need to try and make sure this person's right for me without seeing them. I think that's a bloody brilliant format, and a big learning for modern dating is it's less aesthetic and more about real stuff, real values.
Yeah, because I'm curious how you explored those connections with no visuals, right? You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what the person on the other end of that wall on the pod across from you, what they look like. And so I'm curious, like, because I hear from flirties all the time. It's like we crave connection, and not just connection, but authentic, real, deep, intimate connection. And sometimes, like, I was just listening to the episode you did of your podcast, Why Do Men, with Sabrina Zohar on lovebombing. And so fascinating, flirties. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to that episode. And in that, y'all talk about how we oftentimes want to fast track connection, right? We just want to get to that point where we know who someone is, we know the role they play in our lives. Are they going to be there long term? But in that process, like, how can you truly get to know someone on those deeper levels in such a, like, in such a short period of time? But anyway, on Love is Blind in the pods, no distractions, right? You're not going to work. There's no social media, no phones. So in a way, you really can do that. But yeah, my question, how did you go deeper? What were some of your strategies, some of the questions that you would ask?
Well, I think I actually went into it a little bit naive, if I'm honest with you. And you learn a lot from a show like that. And, I thought at that time, and it was a couple of years ago now that we shot it, right? That it was like the vibe, like the intangible connection. That was the most important thing. That, like, I mean, from all the research and reading I've done on it now, like, it's almost like limerence. It's that feeling you have of like just connection. Oh my God, this person's amazing. And I thought that's what love was like, if I'm being honest with you. And so that's kind of what I was looking for when I went into the experience. And, if I was to do it again, without losing the fact that you also need to be funny and attractive and interesting, I delve far deeper into people's values and think about our compatibility on that level, because that's not something that I did enough of. And I ended up getting engaged to an amazing woman, but we weren't compatible when it came to our values at all. We were compatible in terms of that intangible, like fun, just she gave me a feeling, and sadly a feeling isn't enough.
No, I know. We wish it were oftentimes, because when especially if that's something that is cultivated early on in a connection, whether it's through limerence, whether it's through the butterflies, the spark kind of thing, and we attach so much meaning to that, and then it just becomes about keeping that alive without really navigating our differences, without trying to determine different levels of compatibility around lifestyle and values and all that good stuff. It's just like, oh, we like the beach? Cool. Oh, we like reality TV? Yes. Oh, we think we're hot? Like we think each other's hot? Amazing.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. Feeling not quite enough. Okay. I am really curious. I want to hear about as well, like one of the scenes that I love in Love is Blind is when you all come out of the pods. I mean, you haven't done the full reveal yet, but you're going into your respective rooms, right? The ladies are with the ladies and the men are with the men. And so what that was like talking about your pod dates with the other guys. How you all maybe supported each other there. Yeah.
I've never really had that question before. There was there are different elements to that, because we were really lucky on our series, and it was a little while ago now, but I think we had really good men that for the most part were pretty emotionally intelligent, were supportive of each other. There wasn't a huge amount of game playing. So there was this, honestly, I mean, I'm going on holiday next week with one of the boys. Like we all just connected so tightly.
Which one?
Well, funnily enough, he's a guy called Connor, who was an Irish guy that didn't get his story shown.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, he was like, the other boys won't mind me saying this, the best guy in there. Like he was elite. He was this is a bit behind the scenes for you. It's like this incredibly charismatic Irishman. Looked quite similar to you, actually. Ben.
Okay. My doppelganger.
Kind of beardy, good looking guy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. But Connor got embroiled in this love square, whereby he was talking to two women who was also talking to someone else. And I think that the producers were like, this story isn't authentic enough. Viewers won't connect with it well enough. Therefore, they chose not to follow him. So, but he's honestly a stand-up guy. I'm going on holiday with the next one. He's like one of my best mates. He's awesome. And some of the other guys as well. Like I've got my birthday this coming Saturday, and Steve and Ollie from the show are coming.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's awesome that y'all are keeping in touch like this.
They're good men. They really, really are. And obviously Ollie's now living in the States with AD from Love is Blind US. So, and they've just announced she's pregnant. So it's like super exciting for everyone.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's another element to that question, which is not every guy was a stand-up guy. And you had some guys in there, and this happens in every series, I'm sure, where there's a lot of game playing, where the guys that are dating the same girls that you're dating might come back from a date and be like, bro, like she's just said that I'm the one. Like just within earshot of you, so it puts you off. And there was a little bit of that as well. But I was very lucky with my relationship that we were pretty much like day one sort of in it and committed to each other. So
Okay. Yeah, because with this question, like I feel like I hear as there's more and more guy flirties of the straight persuasion coming into the flirt community. Hello and welcome. So glad you're here and listening and following. Guys. Like, you've probably heard or seen different posts across social media about the male loneliness epidemic. And I think a big aspect of that is friendship, is true, like just bonding with your friends, with your brothers, with your mates. And so I want to hear a little bit about how maybe you were able to develop some friendships within that community that sounds like they really have, we're going on a few years past the air date of your series. Yeah. And you're traveling with them. They're coming to your birthday. Yeah. So maybe a few friendship making tips for the
I love it. I mean, these probably work for women and men, right? Like straight or gay. But it's really hard. It's really hard, I think, in the modern age to build genuine connection because, stating the obvious, everything happens online. And the way that we tend to validate ourselves or look at success are very different now to what they were a generation ago, where I think because of the way social media plays out, like success, you don't see like traditional normal friendships playing out on social media or being, portrayed in the media as something you aspire to. And I think the same with like traditional family units as well. I think that that's a big part of the reason why there are less and less of those traditional nuclear families now, because you don't see them. But to answer your question, and I think the relatable part for this is when I was younger, I really struggled to build deep friendships with people. And a lot of that was about like fear. It was about fear of being seen and fear of people seeing the real me, because there was a lot of myself that I didn't really like. And this all tracks back to, sort of childhood trauma and abandonment and all these quite big topics. But it was only really through seeking like external help, and I mentioned therapy before, that you start to build a better picture of who you are. And once you do that, then when you embark on a new relationship, romantically or platonically, you end up understanding the value that you can bring to someone else. And you also end up understanding the relationship between being there for other people and supporting other people and the benefit that has to your own self-esteem, So, and once I'd cracked that, and I realized that actually, like, I remember having friends when I was younger, and I'd look at them, and I had a big friendship group at school, right? But none of it was really deep. And I'd look at my other friends, and they'd have these like one-on-one connections with the other boys in the group, and they'd support each other, and they'd be vulnerable with each other, and they'd tell each other when they were feeling like shit or when they were going through a tough time. And I'd always think, why don't those guys look at me and ask me for that? And it's because I wasn't asking them. I wasn't asking them for help. And that was it. That was the turning point for me. I realized like when I'm able to be vulnerable, you spoke at the top of the episode about the men's group that I run. Like, my leadership of that group is not founded on me preaching to them. It's founded on me being vulnerable with them and saying when I'm going through a hard time, they then reflect that behavior. And that's the one thing I'd say for like anyone listening is, romantically or platonically, don't be afraid to like show stuff about yourself that maybe you feel a bit of shame over, maybe you feel a bit embarrassed about, because human beings want to help other human beings. It's one of the principles of human nature, So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. Yeah, really, really helpful. And I have a follow-up here, because as we were setting up this interview, and then I was listening back to the episode with Sabrina and talking about some of those avoidant tendencies you had maybe pre-show, some of those, or pre-Love is Blind, some of those maybe self-abandoning practices where, and this goes across the board for all genders and sexualities, where going back to that craving for connection we have, sort of that even if we're chasing a feeling, we may find ourselves in, like, we're serial daters, we're in those serial relationships that last for a few weeks, couple months, 3 months, and then we're on to the next.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear a little bit. I mean, you were just sharing some there about yourself, but some of those internal shifts you made with just your mindset and your own dating approach. Yeah. To start maybe shifting out of those tendencies.
Yeah. I mean, there's a great book, and I'm sure that anyone that's done any sort of reading around the subject would have read it, called Attached by Emily Levine.
Classic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's around attachment styles. And I read that book a couple of times, right? I read it when I was younger and probably didn't have the maturity to understand a lot of what's spoken about in it. And then I read it again, a few years ago, and it made a lot more sense to me. And avoidance is something which comes up a lot on my podcast because, it's called Why Do Men? And I think men definitely seem to trend more towards avoidance than an anxious attachment style. But like, avoidance is normally characterized by this idea of like fierce independence, right? Where particularly when you've built a life for yourself, and a lot of the time that creation of that lifestyle has been through your own means, not through a partnership with somebody. So you almost like overly protect yourself from opening up to somebody else. And that was a big thing for me. But then the other thing was, as I was speaking about before, was about feeling abandoned quite a bit as a kid. So not really trusting people to nurture my feelings within a relationship, or just worrying that people were going to walk away. And when you're a kid or when you're a teenager, that will often sort of be demonstrated through an inability to build close relationships with people. And then you turn into an adult and you turn into this like fiercely independent, like free guy who loves to travel. Absolutely. And is ambitious and all those kind of things. And that becomes your whole identity. So, and then the problem is, and the Love Bombing episode really dives deep into this, when you meet somebody, your logical brain is going, I really want to meet someone. Like, I really want to have a relationship. I want to have that special connection.
Right.
So up front, you're like, this is how you have a relationship. You shower them with affection. You buy them gifts. Totally. You introduce them to your mum on the second date because that's what relationships are.
Right.
And the problem is, 2 or 3 months later, you can't live up to that standard that you've set. And you've impressed someone, you've taken them on a whirlwind adventure, and then you're like, I've had a really shit day at work and I just want to cuddle, and it doesn't play into the narrative you've set. So,
yes.
And then what ends up happening is you realize that you show them a part of you which maybe you don't like about yourself, or you're worried they're not going to like. And then you're like, it's easier for me, rather than to work through that with that partner, just to walk away and start the cycle again, Yeah. So, and that was my pattern for years.
Yeah. When it gets down to it and you start having some of those disagreements, you're trying to navigate differences, or like you're starting to, maybe meet the family, meet the friends, or you're having that tough day at work, or something's happening with your mental health, or you're traveling, you're going to be gone for a week or so, right? How do you navigate that space, that time apart? Like, it's easy. Like, love bombing doesn't always come from this malicious, from this place where, you're trying to have someone attached to you very quickly. Like, I think too often we correlate, oh, they're a love bomber, they're a narcissist. Not necessarily. Those are two very different things. They can coexist, but also two very different things where I've done this. We get excited about people. We like them. Of course, like, attachment in and of itself isn't bad. It's not negative. It's something we want to do in partnership and relationship. It just, if we start at a 10 and we never have a disagreement, we never have a point of conflict, everything's just like roses all the time. Well, it's just not sustainable in the long term.
Exactly that. Yeah. Exactly that. You touched on something else interesting there, which is like, there's two things I want to just say to that, which is it's not about like labeling people. And I think this is a challenge that a lot of guys in particular have now, is that they are given these kind of labels and these quite damaging like trends on social media. Ultimately, that's what they are.
Yes.
And a big part of what I'm trying to do is use a lot of my own experience to help guys and girls understand their own behavior better, because you end up vilifying yourself. So you make a misstep, or you might treat someone a bit badly, and you end up in this cycle of guilt, basically, which is like, you just think, I'm just going to walk away from all of this because I'm not able to cope or handle with a real relationship. And that just creates this circle of further avoidance. So it's about being a bit kinder to yourself. But then the other thing you said, and I think a big trend in dating generally at the moment for guys, is like that behavior, because it's vilified, like in terms like narcissist are thrown around. A lot of guys that maybe are a little bit more self-aware or aware of their behavior, what they bring into the world, will often be like, I don't want to do something wrong, I don't want to make a misstep. And so because of that doubt, because dating is so complex now and takes place on so many different channels in so many different ways, they're just like, I'm just going to carry on being this James Bond character that just floats around the world doing his own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that. Sometimes it's this, we're oftentimes fearful of settling for the wrong relationship. But in that process, we might settle for our own singleness when we don't necessarily want to be single as well. I'm curious. I want to hear, let's get into the podcast, Why Do Men? And how that project came to end, some of the conversations you've had on that podcast.
Thank you, mate. It's been a revelation from my own learning as much as anything. Like I was sort of like, I remember when I finished the show and you start getting all these like Instagram followers and without meaning to sound too like worthy, I always knew that with that platform I wanted to do something at least a little bit useful or meaningful with it, rather than like, here's my boohoo man deal, or here's like my teeth whitening in Turkey deal.
Yeah. Go the full influencer route. Do something where you're giving back a little bit more. Yeah.
Exactly that. And, I started engaging with a little bit of content on my social media and just basically started putting out videos, like reflecting on my own experiences and basically owning some of my shit, because I wasn't perfect on that TV show. There were certain things which I did, which, in retrospect, I wasn't particularly proud of. Like, I was quite judgmental at times. But, one of the things I think I've always been pretty good at doing is owning my stuff and also like understanding where it comes from. And I remember seeing a video about ghosting on TikTok, which just enraged me, because I was like, it's so inaccurate. And that's not like where that behavior comes from at all. And I was like, I'm just going to start a podcast. And so I was throwing it around for a little bit with one of the boys from the show, and we were trying to get funding for it. And eventually I was like, I'm just going to go for it, and just did it myself. And was really lucky, because the first guest I had on was this amazing woman called La Let Me Explain, who's like a social worker turned content creator. She's completely anonymous. And one of the things that I realized very, very quickly was that there's not really a lot of men doing this stuff. So I shot her, and
no, there's not.
No. And I shot her a DM on Instagram, and she came back straight away. And I was like, oh my God, like, she's got 300,000 followers, super engaged audience. And I was like, you want to come on my shitty little podcast? Yeah. And she was just like, because you're a guy, and girls are so much more inquisitive about this stuff, about their behavior, about the people that they're dating's behavior as well. So I was like, maybe it is a little bit different. And then obviously, because I'm really passionate about all the topics, like I've done one around why do men struggle to communicate? I've done one around why do men fear rejection? I do. There's a great one about why men fear commitment, which is basically the eye-opening episode that I've done. I was like, oh my God, this is me. And it's as much of a learning experience for me as anything else. But it seems to have resonated, although typically with more women than men. So if any guys are listening, please, can you just listen in to get my male numbers up a little bit?
Yes, please listen. I find that to be the same way, certainly with Flirtations and with my content on social media. It's like, sometimes I use gender like exclusive language, like specifically to women or maybe specifically to gay men. But a lot of what I talk about, I use gender neutral terms, or I don't use he, she, they, them at all, right? It's just dating advice that applies to everybody. And yet the algorithm will serve it only to women. And I'm like, but if the women are dating men, well, the men need they need advice as well. They need somewhere to go, a community, a podcast to listen to. So thank you for starting Why Do Men? I want to hear now about some of the, maybe one or two just sort of aha moments you've had recording that podcast, a couple aha moments from some of the interviews you've done. Yeah.
Oh God, great question. So I think there are different types of guests that you have on your podcast, and I'm sure that you've had the same as well, right? And initially I was like, I want to get on guests that have big social media followings, because that's how you get eyeballs to your podcast.
Totally.
I'll be upfront about it. I wanted to drive traffic to it. But then what I found is that it's the ones where I have, and not to denigrate against any of my guests because they've all been great, but the ones that, like psychologists, basically, people that really understand this behavior, they've just been incredible, because it's really useful for me. Like I was saying, I shot one around rejection, and it made me realize, like, firstly, where that fear of rejection comes from, which is like deep rooted into your whole psyche. It goes back to like caveman times, where you exist in a community, and if you do something wrong, then you're banished, and there's a fear because you won't survive if you're shunted from that community. And then I was like, oh my God, that's so interesting. And then it suddenly makes you realize, like, where, if I have a situation where I approach a girl in the bar now, I'm like, right, my fear around it is deep rooted. And once you start to understand that stuff, this is the thing I always say, like, you have that understanding, it makes that stuff so much less scary. And not just about picking up women, like everything, having a difficult conversation with your partner. Like you're going to be frightened about that, because it's not because you want to avoid the conversation. It's because you're worried about how they'll respond. And, like I was saying in the top of the episode, like I know for every single decent long-term partner I've had, in retrospect, if I'd have gone to them and said, I have a problem with my own behavior and I'm doing something I'm not proud of, or if I'd said, I have a problem with your behavior, they won't take it personally. Like they are happy that you brought them that. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the big ones for me, mate, is
for sure
understanding these things leads to better relationships.
Yeah. And that was a great episode, the one on rejection. And I feel like I have that similar experience recording Flirtations, where I love doing guest interviews because, like, yes, it's a conversation. And yes, I've got an outline and some notes and questions that the Flirty submitted, that listeners submitted. But I am going to learn, like, some of the things I've asked you today, I didn't plan on asking. They just came up. And I was like, oh, that's an opportunity. Let's go there.
That's why I love podcasting.
More. Yes, it's amazing. You get to just, it's a learning experience. You learn more about yourself. Like, I'll do some reflecting after this as well. I think it will inform some new strategies with my own content. As I've started making this new series, dating advice for straight men from a gay man. It's to different levels of success, but I'm going to stay with it because I believe in it. And one of the things that I hear over and over again in the comments of those videos and the DMs that come from those videos is rejection. And, like, I don't know that men get the time to just, or really, like, the space to really feel rejection or heartbreak, or if it's a ghosting or something like that. But that seems to be fear of commitment. Yes, I hear that. Fear of not being good enough. Yes, I hear that. But gosh, it's this fear of rejection that comes up over and over and over again, or feeling like, I'm doing like the quote unquote, like, right things, sort of like I'm doing the asking out, I'm paying for the dates, I'm, listening, and I'm being funny, and I'm trying to check all the boxes. But there has to be that, what we were talking about earlier, there has to be that vulnerability there too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like sometimes that's the missing piece. And that's the scariest part, is if you are vulnerable and then someone makes the choice to not pursue a connection or partnership further for that reason. Like, oh, yeah, I know.
Oh my God. It's a horrible feeling. And I'm almost contradicting myself here, but you can do all of the understanding and awareness bit you want, but it's still going to hurt. But
for sure.
Like there's a couple of things on that. And the first one is understand it. Like, I don't know, it's a bit of a cliche term again, but like, it's not rejection, it's redirection. And that sort of makes you think like, well, actually it's not about me, it's about them and their preference. And you can't please everyone. Like,
right.
But, also like that point you made about like the checkbox thing, I think particularly is slightly more maybe aware guys are like, I need to try and show up in a way which I think they want to see me. And so I'm going to tick all the boxes. So I'm going to be chivalrous. I'm going to pay for the date. I'm going to open the car door. I'm going to wear great aftershave. You end up becoming so preoccupied with doing everything that you think that person wants. You forget to be you, and you forget to be authentic. And and that's the difficult thing. I have pretty forthright views about chivalry. It's a very old-fashioned term, and actually comes from a time when men would fight for women's honor because women didn't have any rights. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I've all seen those videos, right? Like, men used to go to war, and
exactly. And
now they don't even some of them don't even have a job. Well,
right. This is the thing. There's a whole episode we could do on that around this gender equality thing, and I'm so positive and happy about it. But it has also made a big cross section of men really not understand who they are anymore, particularly in heterosexual relationships. Obviously, they don't know what value they're meant to bring because they have very old-fashioned views of what those gender roles are, and it's like, well, now the women are doing all the sort of amazing things and maybe inhibiting more or like displaying more traditionally masculine traits. And so they're like, well, what's left for me?
She's probably making more money than him a lot of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And that would intimidate a lot of guys. It doesn't, honestly, I would fucking love it if my partner made more money than me, because then we could have an amazing life together. But for certain guys, it's scary.
Yeah, for certain guys, it's the ego, right?
Exactly.
The ego is going to be like, well, who have I, if I'm not like the breadwinner, if I'm not the sole provider, if I'm not the one like in that sort of more traditional role. And because I hear from the flirties, of all gender sexualities, it's like how difficult it is. But I'm a hopeful romantic. I love love. I believe in love. And I think there's still high quality daters out there that have done at least some level of self-reflection and healing and are ready to be in relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a matter of finding them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's my line on providers, right? Like the provider mentality it still works for some men and women.
Absolutely.
But what I say to all the guys in my group is like, you can't be a provider to someone else without providing for yourself first. And
that's true.
Understanding how to be emotionally supportive and strong in a non-physical way. Like strong in I can be there for you and show you strength through other means. Like, and that's always the starting point with a lot of the guys in the group that I run.
Yeah, amazing. Let's talk about the group now a little bit, shoulder to shoulder, and some of the experiences you're hearing from the guys that come into the group, sharing an insight just then. But yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the group.
Well, the first thing I can talk about there is I host dating events in London. And the reason why I'm bringing that up rather than the shoulder to shoulder thing is because they align quite closely, because it's for this amazing organization called Board of Dating Apps. They give my men free entry because they're men that are inquisitive about their own growth. And so we're like, we need more men like that, because this whole IRL dating events are blowing up at the moment. There's this thing around dating app fatigue, which I completely get. I'm not a massive dating app basher because people do meet good people on there, but people, you said it earlier, like are just searching for connection, and you're not going to find that through a mobile phone screen. So these events are blowing up. But what I find with the group is, and when I host at these events, I'm on the front, right? I'm at the door. I'm the person that makes people feel comfortable. I introduce them to the event. I introduce them to people and get them settled. And you get the heterosexual events, but I want to do some gay ones as well, just for the bands. I think my experience would be very different.
They need it. You might have a little bit of a different experience running those events.
Exactly.
Be a lot more glitter.
Everywhere. Just God knows where the glitter is.
Oh God.
But what I find is that the women that come up are incredibly confident. They come in with intent, right? They're like, I want to meet someone. And it's not embarrassing for a woman to say that. They're like, I want to meet my person.
Totally.
They go in, they don't adhere to these old-fashioned gender roles of like, man has to approach first. They're like, he's a hot guy, I'm going to go and approach him. And I'm like, all for it. Like, and they're just awesome to hang out with. The guys turn up, right? Most people come to these events on their own, which I think is incredibly brave and also just awesome, because it's so much easier to meet someone when you're by yourself. And they are quaking in their boots. They're coming. They're honestly, I shake their hands and they're like, and I'm like, what's up? Like, why do you feel nervous? And they're like, yeah, I do feel nervous. And we sort of interrogated it in the walk they did with my boys afterwards. And they were like, yeah, because I feel like there's pressure on me to show up in a certain way and perform and take the lead. Because that's what society tells me I have to do. And I'm not confident enough to do that. Or I don't want to approach someone with all these other people around, because if they see my terrible attempt at small talk, I'm going to feel rejected or belittled. And so that's why it's more difficult for guys. And honestly, these, like anyone listening, if you're a straight guy, go to one of the events, because it's just full of emotionally available, attractive women that want to meet someone. And the only other thing I'd say on that is, it's not cool for guys to have intent when they date hetero guys. Like it's, if you say, I want to meet, you rarely meet a guy who's like, I really want to meet someone and find my person. They're like, yeah, if it happens, it happens, you know?
That's so true. Yeah.
Like, be intentional. And I don't know, it probably applies to gay guys as well, right? Like, I don't know how cool it is to say, I'm actually finding my long-term partner. I'm looking for my long-term partner.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit on the rarer side as well, because that could be seen as too much, or like right away you're sort of, if the other person is not looking for that exact same thing, well, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're going to disappear, they're going to reject you, they're going to go, something like that. It's like, well, we can still explore connection and what that may look like, but I'm going to be very intentional, because if it's a relationship I want, I'm going to state that, so that ultimately, like, I don't want to waste my time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. I think people, to your point, are worried about coming on too strong because the other person might get freaked out. And I'm like, if they get freaked out, they're not looking for the same thing you're looking for.
Exactly. The alternative is you hold back, you play it cool, you try and match energy, you focus on that spark, that feeling, that butterfly. And then what happens is maybe you forego actually going under the surface and making some of those deeper level connections, which are ultimately, that's what you've got to have to build the foundation for a relationship. If that's which is what you want, regardless of the style or type of relationship. Like, we're all just sort of cosplaying dating sometimes. We're all just sort of in and out, building our rosters on the apps, off the apps, DMing, strapping, and just getting these hits of validation, which in and of itself isn't bad. Some external validation is fantastic. But if that is how you are determining like how you feel about yourself, oh, am I going to be in a good mood today? Did my crush look at my story? Did so-and-so DM me? I think you're always going to be chasing that feeling.
Exactly. And you become addicted to the nature of that feeling rather than like...
Absolutely.
You know, like real validation, which would be like the person that you've just started seeing being like, I really liked the way that you supported me when I had a difficult day at work.
Yes, absolutely. All right, I got a couple more questions for you, Tom, before we wrap up. One is flirting, of course, because I get this question from the guys all the time. So let's say they are attending one of your in real life events. They're very nervous. They're fearful of rejection. They've probably, they probably flirted in the past with someone and they were rejected. It does happen. So a little bit more of a pep talk, maybe an opening line, something they could do to flirt with someone that catches their eye.
Oh, I love it. Look, I get how intimidating flirting can be, particularly if it's overtly, if you're really putting yourself out there and making it that obvious, because it's that fear of rejection thing again. But
totally.
Honestly, like every girl that I've ever met and ended up seeing romantically, I haven't gone out with like is that a ladder in your tights or a stairway to heaven type line.
That's we could work for that. I've never. Is that a UK flirt?
The drag community as well. But for me, it's about sincerity and about eye contact. So, like, fantastic. I mean, I'm very, very lucky when I host these events because I meet all 200 people that walk through the door, and I'm allowed to date those people if I want to, but I just take their hands in my hand normally and be like, hello, I'm Tom, it's really, really good to meet you. And a little glint in your eye, just make yourself feel like you're happy to see that person and try and establish a non-verbal connection with them is what I'd say.
Yes.
And just fucking don't be worried, be yourself. Because if they don't like it, then at least that's you, it's better than they don't like a fake version of you that you've presented. So I genuinely believe that, self-confidence is the number one thing.
Yes. That alone is going to make the biggest difference. I mean, versus like if you showed up to one of those events in sweatpants, right? You're like maybe like sort of hair is all over the place. You're looking down. Like, why would you're not even making yourself like who would want to approach you? Because your body language is signaling, your whole energy is signaling, don't talk to me.
Exactly.
But if you show up with like a pressed shirt, just something you feel comfortable and confident in, go up, make eye contact, say hello, introduce yourself. I'm really excited to get to know you tonight. I'd love to talk with you a little bit more. Yes. Go from there. Ask open-ended questions. Yeah. Just have a conversation.
Just really show like you care about what they're saying. Like, I know it sounds obvious, but that's not obvious to a lot of people. They feel under so much pressure. I'm just going to put myself the whole time.
When you get anxious, when you get nervous, like reason and logic is the first thing to go out the window.
Exactly that.
All right.
Yeah.
Good flirting tip. Final question here. I want to come full circle back to Love is Blind and just how your life has maybe changed post show. I mean, it seems like a lot's happening.
It is, man. I mean, I was really lucky because I have a job which I adore, right? So I work for a PR agency in London. I work for one client, TikTok. Like, it's so fun.
Okay.
I love it. But it's a stressful job and it takes up a lot of my time and my energy. So like post show, I've cut down my hours to 4 days a week, which I'm really lucky I can do. And you work flexibly as well, don't you? You've got a kind of flexible schedule.
A little bit.
My biggest realization is that when I'm doing the stuff that I'm passionate about, like there's the 3 main passion projects that I have, which is the men's group, the podcast, and then the social media content and everything that comes around that. Like sometimes you get the brand stuff, sometimes you get the media work as well. But I'm busier than I've ever been. And it doesn't feel like work. Like, I love it, honestly. Even this today, like, I'm so happy I did this podcast because I had the longest day at work. I was hosting at a dating event last night. I was knackered. I was like, I don't want to speak to some random dude from East Carolina. And then I jump on and it's like, you're really cool. I think I'm an extrovert because I feel more energized now just from chatting to you. And
awesome.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So it's what I'd say for anyone that has like a public platform, not to sound too worthy, is just make sure you use it to do stuff that you are passionate about, that you enjoy, because then it's never going to feel tiring, you know? Like, don't do something like that thinking you're going to be a social media influencer, because you might be for a little bit, but it make you deeply unhappy in the long run because you'll be a slave to Meta's algorithm. So,
yes, you will.
You know,
that next brand deal versus complementing that work with something else that is more aligned with like a passion, like a true interest, like truly giving back. Like, I love this. I love what I do as well so much. Like, I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. And in those moments where like views are down or like you're having a bad day or maybe you're just overworked or tired, it's like, I have thoughts of like, maybe I will just delete it all and go live in the woods. But then I'm like, wait a second. You would never be happy with that life.
Do you ever have these like slightly archaic like thoughts that come into it? Sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to put out a video saying like all women are trash and gold diggers and just see what happens.
Every now and then, because I chronically live online, so I know what I could say that would just gamify the algorithm and just create controversy, which is a fantastic way. It's a great viral strategy.
I know, mate.
Just create controversy.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like I mentioned it to you on email. Like I put out a video yesterday, which wasn't even that controversial. It was a video about Tinder introducing a new height filter. And my point of view on that is that height shouldn't be a non-negotiable. I get it if you're a tall person and you want someone that matches your height, but there are so many women out there that are probably average height that would say, I want a 6-foot guy. Yeah. And I'm like, the amount of 6-foot guys plus in the UK is about 20 to 30%. So you're ruling out 70 to 80% of those men.
That's the thing.
You know, and is it really that important to you, like an inch, right? When you could meet the most emotionally intelligent, smart, witty, you know, financially prudent, family-orientated guy who's 5'11", and you'd rule him out. Yeah. So
it's giving, like, for me, it's giving a little bit AI. We're now like, how many filters are we going to have? We're essentially engineering our perfect match without even knowing who they are, if they can have a conversation, if they have empathy. Like they could check every box on paper and you meet them and horrible match. Like I think you know, if they can have a conversation, if there's, you know, some base level of they're cute, go on the date, just have coffee, spend an hour of your time. Yes. Enjoy, have a conversation about something you're interested in, what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're reading, how work's going, whatever. Yeah.
And, you know, people are allowed to have preferences. Like it's not my place. But what I always tell people is like, maybe think about what the hierarchy of those preferences should be, because you're not going to rule someone out because they're an inch shorter than your ideal height, you know?
Right.
Like, just like maybe you're not going to rule someone out because they don't live within a mile radius of you. Like you have to be flexible in the things that are the non-negotiables, or the negotiables rather, and figure out your non-negotiables based off the important stuff, like, you know, values, goals, that sort of thing.
Definitely. At the end of the day, that's what's going to help you build a relationship. This has been just an amazing conversation. Tom Stroud, thank you for being on the show today. I'll have some links in the show notes below for this episode, but where can the Flirties find you, follow you, listen to the podcast, perhaps join the men's group? Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. So, I mean, the best starting point is my Instagram. It's @StroudTom. And from there, you can find a link to the podcast Insta, which then goes through to Spotify or the men's group. Just shoot me a DM as well. Like I do a dating Q&A every Sunday on my Insta. I've had to do it today because I'm partying all weekend, but because I have a life.
It's your birthday.
So, exactly.
Got to.
But I'd love to have more guys chip in on that stuff, because it's, like I say, 90% women that get involved in that. So.
Yeah. All right. I am going to promote the heck out of this episode. Send them your way. This was really wonderful to meet you today and chat a little bit more. Yeah. Thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. Cheers, man.
All right, Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the Love is Blind episode of the program with Tom Stroud. Thank you so much, Tom, for coming on the show today and sharing a lot with us. I've got some links below in the show notes for this episode to the men's group, to the live dating events, if those are in your area, to the podcast Why Do Men and his socials as well. Please check it out. He's doing some great work out there, y'all, just creating really amazing conversations, because I hear all the time, right? Like, where's the dating advice for men? Where are their mentors, right? Where are their relationship advocates? Well, I think we've got one. I think we've got one in Tom, and he's doing some incredible work. So thank you so much, Tom, for doing what you do and coming on the show today. And thank you to you, the Flirties, for tuning in, for listening, for streaming wherever you are in the world. Y'all already know I couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much for listening and just engaging and following on socials if you do that, and sharing episodes and rating, reviewing, and commenting, and just all the things, right? All the things. Truly nothing is too small. Even if you just stream a little bit and then you get distracted, life gets busy, and you're like, oh, I need to finish that episode. It's okay. Yeah, these are always going to be here for you. So come back to them whenever you need to. They'll be here for you. Okay, yes. Thank you. Rate, review, subscribe to the show. Did I say that? If I didn't, I have now. Okay, signing off officially here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and Gay Libra Flirty. Happy flirting.